Yes.
How do you deal with a resident who is verbally and physically abusive to the staff and to the residents over and over again?
Okay. With a resident who's verbally and physically abusive, I see more verbal than physical. But we try our best, again, not the medication, because sometimes the approach, I always say, step back and look at the approach. That makes a difference. Some of the residents become aggressive because if they say, I don't want a shower, and the CNA is saying, yes, I have to give you a shower because Martha's gonna yell at me. I don't yell at people, just an example. And I said, no, that's not the way. And when the CNAs come into our memory care unit to work, and I have CNAs who are there, I keep the same faces because the residents respond to the face. They may not know my name, don't know who I am, but my face is familiar. And they're like, I know her, they'll say. I know her, she's a nice girl. So the way we handle that is we keep the same people. If somebody is consistently abusive, we have to go with the medication route, unfortunately, if we can't redirect. But again, we do the bare minimum. And sometimes all they need is something to calm them down. As much as I hate Ativan and Xanax and all that stuff, sometimes it's necessary. And some of them, because you can't give it by mouth, because, well, when they're upset like that, they're not gonna wanna take, we have gels that we rub. And I have my famous ways of getting things on people. I have one resident, when he becomes, he needs it. It's just, and I'll say, oh my goodness, look at that you have a terrible rash in the back of your neck. My goodness, I have this cream the doctor ordered. Let me just put it on there for you. Because you can't tell them, oh, you're agitated, let me give you medication. That's the worst thing. I never even called them medication. That's part of the reason why in the memory care unit, we have to have nurses do medications, not med techs. It makes sense. The state came and they said, and I thought, well, of course that makes sense. Why didn't we think of it before? Because they don't know what they're taking. They're memory impaired, so technically we're administering, and per state regulation, only a nurse can administer. So that's why we have a nurse doing meds there all the time. And then we have to use a compassionate deception again. I have to tell them, oh my God, you have that rash, let me put it in here and just get rid of the rash for you. Because otherwise if I say, I'm gonna give you Ativan because you're agitated, it's like, that will not work. But the answer to your question is challenging. But if they're becoming very physically abusive towards other residents, the staff, nobody wants to get hit. And let me tell you, I've gotten hit many times in my lifetime, and it's not fun to be hit. But I always say, if it's a staff member, I said, now think about it. If they knew what they were doing, would they hit you? Look at the background, what they did. They were teachers, doctors, whatever. They wouldn't do that. They're like, yeah, they don't mean to do it. It's just a reaction. And it's not something that they want to do necessarily. It's a way for them to communicate because they can't tell you verbally, I want you to leave me alone. I don't want a shower right now. I wish you'd go away. If that's the case, you leave them alone. But I don't see anyone who just hit people for no reason. I have some who are confrontational. So I have to, like sitting, for example, for meals, sometimes I have to say, okay, now don't sit this resident with this resident, because one resident may be verbal and say, oh, you're a pin in the neck, whatever. And the other one may be more physically able and will try to, she has to defend her honor. That's human nature. So we try to not mix. If we know I have two residents I know in the garden that, no way, cannot sit them together. One is physically able, one is verbally able. So it doesn't mix, because the one who's physically able will try to come and say, well, okay, call me this again and I'll let you have it. So that's the way we sort of handle. It's kind of know who is who. I know who doesn't care. Like I'll sit here with somebody who I know will not respond to the verbal. And it's not necessarily mean thing. It's just saying, oh, look at her over there. She's not doing anything. And that annoys somebody who can understand that you're saying they're not doing anything. It's not cursing per se. And we do see cursing. And we try to address that as well. Especially with people resident with Lewy body. And I don't have a lot of residents with the Lewy body because they have very visual hallucinations where they see people and they're like, somebody's in my room, they're trying to kill me, this girl's trying to punch me. And normally you give him some Aricept, it does magic. It just replaces that neurotransmitter they're missing, and that seems to help. I can't say that I've ever let anyone go because they were physically abusive. Like to say to move out. I haven't. Honestly, just because most of the time it's the approach. Because somebody's not gonna just swing at you. If that's the case, we try to identify the residents who are at risk for doing that. If they have a background of being, physically abusive, that's different. But if it's just a dementia, that's very different, because they're not going to just swing at you just for the heck of swinging. There's a reason. My thing is to find the reason why. Why are they hitting you? Are you going in their face? Are you too close? Because we all have our personal space. Are you too much in the personal space? Is your approach correct for them? Just because Mrs. Smith is very agreeable and will run to the bathroom anytime you say, let's go, doesn't mean Mr. Smith will. He'll say, I don't need to go. Absolutely not. I go to the bathroom by myself. Why would you think I need you to help me? Because again, they don't remember that they need help. So it all depends on the background, but I haven't had an issue that we were not able to address. So it's a good thing. Do you have something you're dealing with right now? If you don't mind answering, try telling them approach, and just if they say no, what I tell the CNAs to do and what they'll do is try again later, because you'll be surprised what a different face will do. I'm the savior. I love being the savior. Okay, they'll say, Martha, I can't get her to take a shower. The nurse will go in there. Oh my goodness, they made a mess, but we can't. And I'll go into, Mr. Smith, good morning. I'm Martha. What are you doing? It's like, oh my goodness. Look at these dresses. Look all these beautiful things you have. Let's put something. Let's get excited. I just get this excited, and my job, it requires me to be very excited and happy. I'm a happy person anyway, so I love being happy. So I'll do that. I have a resident who will not get dressed in the morning sometimes. It will take every single person to go in there, but I'll go in there and I know her background. She's tomato. She has beautiful clothes. I'll say, oh, let's go. Oh my goodness. And I try to dress very pretty because the residents like it. Not only because I like to look nice, but I notice when I walk and they'll say, look at those shoes. Look at your outfit. And I'll say, thank you. And I'll twirl and everything. I do a show. I give them a show. Okay. I make it fun for them because it's enjoyable. I'll twirl. I'll say, oh yeah. They're like, I used to wear those shoes. I said, I know you did. They'll say, I used to wear those handbags. I love this and that. But I get to be that. I'll go in there and I'll get people in the shower. I actually get in the shower, put them in the shower, help with the shower. I do it all when it's necessary, absolutely. I will let somebody walk around with, unclean. We will not force them if they don't want to. There's cases when sometimes they say no and you try again. That's why we have to keep trying. But you give them time to calm down. We can't have 5 people in there trying to get somebody in the shower. It's overwhelming, too many faces, and it's a dignity issue. Think about it. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I don't know how it feels somebody give me a shower. So I try to think about that. It's like, okay, let's one person try and make it very, okay, cover up. Here's a towel, wrap around. Some people are very, the generation, they're very modest. Modesty it's something you take with you. It doesn't matter if they're demented or not. They still remember. That's their personality. It stays with them. Sometimes dementia will, the personality becomes a little different. Some residents, actually the family say, my goodness, my mother is lovely. What did you do to her? It's like nothing. And sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes it's a mixture of both. But it does change the personality to some extent. Not a lot, but because of the way they are now, the now is very different than back then. But try the approach, different faces, give them time. If they say no, say no. Upbeat. Don't ever tell somebody they're dirty and need to be clean. No, that's again a dignity issue. Think about the person, their state of mind. It's like, oh yeah, it's a beautiful day. Why not a nice shower? Give them a reason to want to do it, not necessarily to tell them because you need it. Who wants to do something when somebody tells you you need to do something? On that, I have to clarify that a little bit. With memory care residents, I never ask them if they want to do something. Because if you ask them, somebody, oh, would you like to go take a shower? No. The answer is always no. Not because they're being difficult or because they don't want the shower. When you ask them if they want to do something, they're like, well, I'd like to take a shower, but who's going to help me? Where's the soap? Where's the shower? How do I turn on the shower? A lot of things go through their mind, so you never say, do you want to go to an activity? Do you want to go get your nails done? It's like, how do I get there? Who's going to drive me? How am I going to pay for it? You say, oh, Mrs. Smith, it's time to go get your nails done today. It's time to go take a shower. And they'll say, okay, she must know what she's talking about. And sometimes they'll tell you, well, you can take the high road with your shower. But then I have a resident, I have to say, I like to make it, like a little relatable. So that way you guys, like examples. She does not like to go in the shower. Forget it, you're not getting her in the shower. But the way we figure it out, If you say, oh, let's take a shower, and you're very nice and sweet, oh, let's take a shower. No, she doesn't like it. No, I'm not doing it. This is ridiculous. But you say to her, we're getting in the shower. And you're firm, not yelling, not screaming. Some of them, they need that. It's like a direction thing. It's like, oh no, we're gonna take a shower today. She'll say, well, gosh, you're so bossy, you know? But then she does it. She's not resistant to it. She does it. She'll say, oh, what bossy you are. You're so very bossy. But she'll do it anyways. So that's the way you figure. That's why it's so individual for everyone that you have to look at everyone individually and say, okay, if we're trying to be very upbeat and happy, she doesn't do it. But if you say, okay, now you're gonna take a shower today, she's like, oh, I guess so. And she does it.